Yes. Okay. Perfect. All right.
Yes.
Perfect. Perfect. Sounds good. All right. So we are recording this as well, so don't worry about it. We'll be sharing it at the end of the session, whatever we record. Um,
Sweet.
yeah. I think you guys can post your questions. It's better to post the questions on Q&A, which is public. Although I'm very surprising. I'm very surprised that uh, people are not able to see the others' messages. But it's best to post in the Q&A tab. The Q&A tab is there next to the chat. Just post your questions there. It should be available for everyone. But still, never mind. I'll be here. I'll be monitoring it, and I'll bring out and read out the questions as we go along. All right. So first and foremost, welcome everyone, and I sincerely hope that you and your family are safe and are staying indoors. This is the first webinar from us, WP Remote, which also runs BlogVault and Malcare. First time we are running it, so please be kind. Joe's a pro at this, but be kind with how it goes. We are trying to keep it very informal. So we'll go along as we'll take the questions as we go along and try to help you as much as we can.
I see you still talking. My audio is doing something funny, so keep talking for just a couple minutes. Let me just give me
Sorry, say that again, Joe. I couldn't hear you. Yeah, I think there's some problem with Joe's recording. We'll get him sorted. All right. So coming to what is WP Remote is a cloud-based WordPress website management tool. We do much more, but I'm not going to bore you with that. You can always check that later. But let's get to the reason why we are all here, and it's the impact of COVID-19. Right. So COVID-19 has completely blindsided everyone, and to be honest, the amount of damage that it's going to cause is still unpredictable. It has hit every business, big or small, and really hard, right? The small businesses have especially been hit very hard, and governments all over the world are trying to figure out how can they help these small businesses. The good news is that the U.S. government has announced a 100% forgivable loan to all small businesses. But of course, there are caveats, and we all know that government processes can get really tricky and complex. And that's why I saw Joe's post on Indie Hackers, and I asked him. He seemed to have found his way around solving this challenge, and we arranged for this special masterclass with Joe from WP Buffs, who would help us walk us through the process of how to claim these forgivable loans, and also answer any question that you may have. Okay, I hope you're still able to hear me. If there is any glitch, please feel free to put it on the chat or on the Q&A so that we can address them. And I think Joe, I'm not sure if Joe's still here, or did we lose his connection? I can see his screen. Joe, are you still there? No, I cannot hear him. All right, we'll just give it a couple of minutes. Yeah, I think Joe was he's trying to get back in. Hey, are you Joe? Good to have you back, man. Can you hear us, Joe? Hello. For some reason, these things never go smooth. Joe, we can see you. Yes, talk, Joe. think is facing some issue with his audio, but uh, feel free to post your questions on the Q&A tab. I see one from Danielle. Please post your questions. We're just going to take it along as we go. Joe, can you hear us? Nothing yet. Okay.
Hey, Pritesh, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
If you can hear me, I'm still figuring this out. I'm sorry, I haven't used this platform before, so something's a little off.
Joe, we can hear you.
Okay.
At least I can hear you.
Okay, I can hear you too now.
All right, perfect. Man, good to have you back. You gave me a scare. I had no clue what I was gonna talk about, right?
Hopefully I'm not echoing for people. My AirPods seem to have had a small issue, so I'm just going based on a different speaker. But if anybody's hearing any echo, just let me know. Okay, Larry says you're good, so hopefully everybody thinks that. So cool.
I think let's start. We are already 10 minutes into the session. I'll hand it over to you, Joe. Please take it over. I'll monitor the chat and pop questions as we go along.
Awesome.
All right.
Okay. Welcome, everybody. So I don't have any official slides or anything to go over today. I did this nice write-up on indiehackers.com, and I thought that would be a good place or a good thing to share with everybody. I am no expert in applying for loans. I'm not an accountant or a tax person. I'm a small business owner, probably like many other people here. So yeah, I always just want to say, I say that regardless of what I'm talking about. Usually I don't know totally what I'm talking about, right? But for this topic especially, it's something that I wanted to share kind of my experience going through with everybody, what I've learned so far through the process, and again, hopefully give people some information they need either to apply or to maybe just get more information to decide if you want to apply or not. So one thing I guess it's good to know is I had a really thorough call with our accountant, with my accountant for our business. He does all our taxes. He's our accountant, and everything here is from what he told me. So all this stuff is pretty valuable, I think, for people to know. If you want to speak with him specifically, I just give him a shout out and all this stuff because he spent like an hour on a call talking through all this stuff with me. If you want to jump on a call with someone who you can really trust, Elliot's great, and he's been doing our stuff for a few years. I would think, I guess, if you're a U.S. person, he would be helpful. But if anybody here happens to not be in the U.S., well, this loan stuff isn't super applicable to you anyway, but he probably wouldn't be as helpful for you. But yeah, northbrookfinancial.com. Feel free to check him out. Okay. Let's talk about a little bit of background information about the loans before we get started. Mike just asked if I can share the link to these so you can read along if you want to. I'm doing that right now. Okay, Pritesh, you beat me to it. Yes. What a good monitor, Pritesh. Well,
I'm good.
Yeah.
So don't worry about it.
That's in the chat for everybody. Feel free to click through and yeah, keep that for however long. I'm keeping some updates in the comments as well. So scroll down towards the comments and there's more information as I've kind of discovered new stuff. Cool. So these loans during this time, obviously some craziness happening in the world with this COVID-19 stuff happening. The U.S. government gave a $2 trillion $2 trillion to kind of put back into the U.S. economy to help folks. $350 billion of that goes towards small businesses. The fact that significantly more goes to big business bailouts is probably another conversation, not one I want to really dive into today. I'd rather focus on helping y'all. But An important fact behind these loans is that they are 100% forgivable. This kind of means they become grants, so you can kind of think of them as grants. This is all based on the fact that you use that loan to do what the loan is supposed to be for, which is really around operating costs, making payroll, anything that's really showing that it's keeping your business afloat. But if you use it for those things, these loans do become 100% forgivable. And I have that right here. As long as you use them to pay for operational costs, payroll, that kind of, I categorize as operational costs for your business. All right. Like I mentioned before, I'm just the guy who's talking to you on a webinar. You probably want like a guy who's like looks like an accountant and has like a suit and tie on, but instead you got this guy with a big beard talking from home who doesn't know everything. So the SBA.gov website's a really great resource for people to go if you want like the people who are running this. Like that's the best resource to go to for all this stuff. This one's important for everybody. This was the first bank started taking loans last Friday, so a week ago. I believe the first bank to start accepting funds was Bank of America. If you have a Bank of America business account and a Bank of America credit card, a business credit card, I think, you can apply for that right now. I don't believe they've closed yet. That being said, I'll talk more about getting hooked in with your banks with the Paycheck Protection Program. But Elliot stressed to me that the sooner you can apply, the better, for sure. He put it in a way that was like, there's $2 trillion sounds like a lot. I mean, $2 trillion is a lot. Let's talk about the smaller amount that's actually for small business owners. $350 billion sounds like a lot, but if you spread that out across the whole US, it's still a finite amount of money. So you don't want to get caught in like a month when you realize you need money to keep you rolling and then start to apply and realize banks have closed their portals or are not doing this anymore. So I would for sure, after this webinar, maybe take an hour and maybe submit some applications. So, oh yeah, last thing, again, if your business is not US based, I don't know how helpful this will be for you. Definitely look for some resources for your country that are specific to, that maybe the government there is helping companies based in your country with things. This is only for US stuff. That's all I know because WP Buffs is a Washington, DC based business. All right, cool. Okay, let's dive into the specific loan programs. First one, Economic Injury Disaster Loan. You'll see this around as EIDL for short. EIDL. So here's what the U.S. government did: is what happens when there's like a hurricane comes into New Orleans. What the federal government will do is they'll declare New Orleans a disaster zone. I forget what the technical designation is, but it is like a disaster area. And so then businesses there could apply for this in that kind of situation. What the federal government's done is they've said the whole U.S. is a disaster zone. They've like designated the whole U.S. as a technical disaster zone so that everybody can apply for this funding. So any, again, U.S.-based business is going to be eligible for this. This is an up to $10,000 advance of up to $10,000 loan. As far as I know, that's what small businesses are applying for. The amount of money businesses are applying for when they apply for this loan. There may be some different amounts depending on what size your business is. But if you're, a small business, $10,000 is probably what you'll be looking at when you're applying for this. Let's see. Probably small business working. So $10,000 for most small businesses can go up to $2 million that I think is, I'm sorry, I forgot who asked the first question here before, but that must have been what this was talking about. So if you represent a larger business, you can apply for larger funding. Anything else like important here? Yeah, this is pretty basic stuff. Temporary loss of revenue. This says funds will be made available within 3 days of a successful application, and this loan advance will not have to be repaid. This is, again, what Elliot told me. I applied for this last Thursday, so 8 days ago, and I have not heard back. I haven't heard whether it was successful or not successful, so I can't say either way. But I would say I haven't heard back, so maybe it wasn't successful. I don't know what the reasoning for that would be. Again, nothing's been explained to me. When I applied for this, though, it did say you'll get an email notification when something happens. And it told me like at joe@wpoffice.com, like it said, like at my email address, I would get a notification. So I haven't gotten anything like that yet. But who knows? Maybe still to come. I went over this one first because this one's a super easy one to apply for. You could probably start applying right now and be done by the time this webinar is over. The link's right here. Pritesh, maybe you can copy that link and throw it in chat. But people can not be lazy and click through to the article that Pritesh already sent and then click the link. It's fine also. Oh, do you say something, Pritesh? Did you just say, yes, I will post it?
I'm going to cover all the questions later, but there's a question where it says, do they apply via the bank's link or directly from here, directly SBA?
This is a good question. I should have clarified that. The bank, the loan you apply through your bank with is the Paycheck Protection Program, which is down here. That's the second kind of loan I'm talking about. That you apply through your bank. This you do not apply for your bank. You can literally click through to this link and it sends you directly to the application form. So you do not need a bank to apply for this. You do need some specific information about your business, like you need to know your EIN number. You need to, like, there were a couple of things I had to like dig through some documentation to find, because it's like I only use it when I do official business stuff, like as it pertains to like a patent or trademark or like government stuff. It's a little annoying, but yeah, give yourself a little time to find that stuff. But most of it's pretty easy. They're just like 2 or 3 questions that you may have to dig for some information. But Pritesh, to answer your question, and whoever's question that was, you can literally click through right here and apply. Yeah, I said that right here. I applied and it took about 10 minutes for me. Some people said it took them a little longer, but it's because they had to dig and find that information I was talking about. That's pretty easy. I'm going to pause just for a second to give folks time to digest that a little bit and ask other questions in the chat if they want to. I do see another question in the chat. Bernardo asked, what about U.S. territories? That's a very good question that I'm going to refer over to the SBA.gov website. I know because I live in Washington, D.C., that through the $2 trillion fund that got pushed back into the economy, D.C. got less money than I think every U.S. territory, and we have a population bigger than all, if not most, of those U.S. territories. So people in D.C. were pretty pissed because our population, because we're not a state, is the reason. District of Columbia, we did not get proper funding in Washington, D.C. So yeah, people here are not too happy about all that. So long story short, I would think you could apply as U.S. territory. That would be my assumption, but that is totally an assumption. So definitely go to the to the SBA.gov website to check. I hope so.
All right. There are a few more questions on the Q&A tab. I think it's best if you read them out and then we move forward.
Okay, Q&A tab. I work in a tech company. I can't find the Q&A tab.
Do you see the chat tab?
Chat
No?
tab. Oh yeah, there it is. Okay.
Yeah,
The
the
UX is a
Q&A.
little confusing here. It was like grayed out. It wasn't super easy to see, but I found it here. All right. Should I start with Daniel? Should I start with Daniel's and just go down? Is that good, Pratesh?
Yeah. I think that's best. Let's start
Okay.
with Daniel.
Cool. Let's run through. Daniel L, what's up? Is there any hope for a single member LLC to get the full 10K any more after the recent change? Yeah, I would think so. I am technically, WP Buffs is technically a single member LLC. Like I'm the 100% owner, and obviously we have like 20 people who work at the company, but still, I guess it's technically a single member LLC. I applied for 10K, but I also just talked about like not hearing back. So I think my honest opinion, like this whole loan thing is kind of craziness, and I don't know how much you should rely on getting any money. If you don't, take the shot, you can't hit the game winner. So still worth applying probably, but I don't think I would say I would definitely expect you to get the full 10K. But maybe, who knows? Maybe you'll luck out. Evelyn, we are an LLC that uses guaranteed payments to pay ourselves. Does guaranteed payments count the same as payroll for that loan program? That's a very good question. Guaranteed payments. So that actually applies more to the Paycheck Protection Program, which I haven't really gone through yet. Pratesh, I'm going to go back and keep presenting through the Paycheck Protection Program, and then I want to answer all these questions just because I want to explain all this, and maybe Evelyn and other people will explain your questions as I'm going. Okay, cool. I'll be quick-ish about it because, again, I want to answer questions. Like that's what this is about. So we talked about that one loan, EIDL, emergency loan. You can apply right now. Literally click through, links right there. Second kind of loan, Paycheck Protection Program. Let me take a quick sip of tea, guys. Hold on. I have to stop myself from talking too fast because I get excited. Paycheck Protection Program. This is what you have to apply through your bank with for this loan. Small businesses may qualify for loans of up to $10 million determined by 8 weeks of prior average payroll, plus an additional 25% of that amount. At the end of the day, what you're applying for is you're looking at your payroll for the last 2.5 months. Although it's technically the average payroll over the last 2.5 months, which I think is technically different. Either way, it's a similar amount. That's what you're applying for in this loan. Loan payments will be deferred for 6 months. And if you maintain, this is the important part. And if you maintain your workforce and the SBA will forgive the portion of loan proceeds that are used to cover the first 8 weeks of payroll expenses. So this is 100% forgivable if you use your loan amount over those 8 weeks, over the 8-week period, which is important to remember as you apply for this loan because you obviously want it to be 100% forgivable. My personal opinion on all this is the government has, oh my God, and banks have so many loans they're giving out. Like, I don't know how this is all going to work with it. If they're trying to say, oh, you took this much, but we need this much back for this. Like, they don't have enough people to review all that. I don't know. Again, not an expert, but follow the rules as much as possible. That's going to be the best route always. You should contact your bank as soon as possible to apply. Yeah, so this is what I just said. Take your average monthly payroll this year, multiply by 2.5, and that's the amount you're applying for in this loan. We run all of our payroll through Gusto. So we just exported. Gusto had an email and pop up in their dashboard that said, like, hey, if you're applying, like, just download this report and submit it with your application. I said at the beginning of this, but for new people, I have not applied for the Paycheck Protection Program because Capital One is my bank, and they have not opened their applications as of right now. So I have the report sitting around ready to send in with my application, but haven't technically sent it in yet. This part's also important because I know a lot of people, at least in the WordPress space, are like me. You're working remotely or you're running a remote team. If your whole remote team is in the US, you can apply for everyone's payroll. If you're like WP Buffs and you've got some people in the US, but some people outside of the US, you apply for the payroll of folks in the US. Your folks outside of the US do not get to take part in this loan. Okay. How to apply for this loan? Honestly, this loan has been a little bit of a shit show so far. Excuse my language. I've only heard of a few people actually being able to submit applications successfully. What you want to do is you want to talk to your bank. Let me drag this down here. This is the Capital One page. I'm a Capital One bank member. That's where I do my business banking. Everyone's got a different bank, so this isn't specific to anybody. But as an example, every bank's going to have a page like this on their website. The folks in my local Capital One branch do not like me very much right now because I call them every day asking for an update, and they're like, "Go to the website. We don't know anything." Like clearly, they've been told by HQ, like, don't say anything, just tell people to go to the website, which is kind of annoying. But every bank's going to have a page like this that's going to have the application on it. This one for Capital One says, we anticipate being able to accept applications online shortly. And it said that for like 4 days. So, yeah, still waiting for this to open. But you need to go through your bank to do this, in short. I see more questions coming through. We're going to get them answered. Hold with me for a second while I go through. SBA has released a sample application. Don't use this link, actually. In the comments below, there's another link to an actual. It's here somewhere. I don't want to find it right now. But down in the comments, there's an actual link to the true report. That sample report was from before the the sample application came out before they were opening applications, and now they have a real application. The sample one says sample, like in what's it called? Water color. I want to say watercolor, water marked. There you go. So don't use the sample one. Although I've heard people who have applied to banks, they just like put their numbers in to the bank and then they submit. Like they didn't even need the application. So I don't even know if it's necessary, but I filled it out twice, the sample and the real one. But waiting to see if I need that. Yeah, honestly, I don't have any other like specific what you need to apply for this because every bank's going to do it differently. And unfortunately, Capital One hasn't opened its applications yet again. So I haven't applied yet. I wish I had so I could tell you what the application process was like for me, but I have no idea. Someone else on this call actually maybe you applied and you're waiting to hear back. If you have any information, feel free to chat it in. Like, what was your experience like? Because I'm sure everyone would like to hear. I'd love to hear. Cool. The comments here are some of the most valuable piece of this because I've tried to keep things updated. The SBA website, the SBA Twitter account, and the I forget what her is, the administrator of the SBA have tweeted. At one point, they tweeted like how much money had been processed so far after 1 day of applications being open, which I believe was mostly Bank of America accepting applications. $3.22 billion had already been processed. This was as of 4:33 p.m. Yeah, almost 10,000 loans, $3 billion. This sounds like a lot. It is a lot. But out of the $350 billion to be given, it was about 1%, less than 1%. I think I said it here. Yeah, less than 1% of the total funding we have. So yeah, you want to apply sooner rather than later, but you know, it's a lot of money still being given out. So you still have time. Anything else here important in these comments that I made? There are a few little things I've heard, like for the 2.5 times your payroll, don't round up. Like they're going to give you a loan for exactly 2.5, like, and not a penny more is what I heard from someone who successfully applied. So literally punch it into your calculator to don't be like, oh, it's like $8,920, so I'll just round it out to 10,000. Like, no, give exact numbers. Oh, I've said a couple times you have to apply through your bank that you do banking business with. I believe there's some rule or law or something that says banks can't do business with people who they don't know, who they don't have a business relationship with when it comes to loans. So that's why your bank page is going to say, if you've opened a business account before, a lot of the banks I've seen have said February 15th, you can apply. But if you haven't, you can't. So you can't just like go to an open bank right now and just apply through them, like open a business account and apply to their program. You have to apply through someone you have a history of banking with. It makes sense. That rule makes sense to me. Like, banks want to be safe. It is a little frustrating because if your bank isn't open to this, then that sucks. I honestly don't have an answer for that. Like, I don't know, wouldn't know what to do in that situation. And who knows? I may be in that situation because who knows? Capital One still isn't open yet. But talk to your bank. Ask your bank about this stuff. They're the people to talk to. Go bug them. I bugged my bank. I don't care. They can be annoyed with me. It's fine. Okay. I think that's kind of like all for like the talking I want to do today in terms of just like presentation. Let's go through Q&A because I want to go through those.
Yes,
that sound good?
Joe, I think that's been useful. Just before going to that, I think that we got a clarification from Jason on Facebook regarding the PPP, that it's an average of the 12-month period and not the average payroll for this year, but average during entire 2019. So maybe that's helpful while applying.
Yeah, I think that's very helpful. Jason, thank you for clarifying. That's kind of a confusing point because Gusto gave me the option to like export 2019 data and the last year's worth of data. So it was a little confusing, like what's the average payroll or what's the average that you're taking to get your 2.5 months of payroll funding. It sounds like Jason knows what you're talking about. So Jason, thank you. I think that makes sense. Looking at Pratesh, Jason said 2019 payroll average. Okay. Yeah. And 2019 payroll average. That's something you can export from your payroll provider. So again, I use Gusto, but everyone uses something different. So
right. Yeah, I think everyone's trying to figure this thing out together, right? So the more feedback we get, that's better. It's better for everyone. All right, let's go through the questions. I think Winnie's asking if can she apply if they have contract workers?
Is this in the QA?
On the chat.
Oh, chat. Let me just make sure I see.
Guys, anyone else who has questions, please go ahead, put them here. We'll just address the questions and then.
Gotcha. Yeah. Found it. Yeah, no worries. This is in the chat as opposed to QA. I was like, I don't see it in the QA, but yes, Winnie. I assume if you have contract workers, you can apply for this loan. Yes, I believe that payroll includes contract. My wife is correcting me as I say this. You want to come and present with me? No, this is so good. My wife and baby are presenting with me now. No, you cannot have contractors. I thought you could do contract. You can't include them in payroll, but you can't. The loan can't cover paying for them. 75% that goes into payroll. Up to 75% for payroll. Say it again. No, this is fine. This is good. We need the right information here.
You can spend 70. You can't include it in the 2.5 when you're asking for the. You can't include it in your payroll calculation.
I see, but you can use that money as operational costs.
Yes, as operational.
Okay. Thank you. Sterling is my free consultant for WP Buffs, so pro bono. You can not include your contractor cost when you apply for your loan. So if you paid contractors $10,000, whatever, in 2019, you can't apply for $10,000 more funding. But you can use the funding you get to pay contractors because that is an operational cost for you. So I hope that makes sense, Winnie. It made sense when she explained it to me, and I hope it made sense as I said it again. And it makes sense to me as I said it, and hopefully it makes sense. Okay, cool.
All right, let's go ahead.
Yeah, let's do it.
Evelyn?
Yes, Evelyn asks, we are an LLC that uses guaranteed payments to pay ourselves. Does guaranteed payments count the same as payroll for that loan program? I'm trying to make sure I understand what guaranteed payments are, and I'm assuming what a guaranteed payment is, Evelyn, if you're a business owner and the way you pay yourself is not technically through payroll, but it is by what you're saying guaranteed payments are, which is just kind of like moving money from a business bank account to your personal bank account, which is totally fine. That's how a lot of business owners pay themselves, although you will have to obviously pay taxes on those once tax season comes around. Does that count the same as payroll for the loan program? I would for sure reference the SBA.gov website for this because I don't want to give you a wrong answer. If I was assuming and making a best faith guess, I would say yes, you are an operational cost of the business. You take money out as paying yourself. I would think so. I'm trying to think of like ways people could cheat the system by doing that, and thus giving them a reason to not say that that's payroll. I think you'd obviously have to have some proof of like that being payroll or something. Yeah, I would think so, but I would for sure talk to your bank, and if you have an accountant, talk to your accountant. Mary, I applied for the SBA Economic Injury Disaster Loan Emergency Advance EIDL, but saw nothing about applying for the loan itself. Have you or anyone had any success with this? You may have, thanks for the question, Mary. You may have missed, I said earlier, I applied for the EIDL as well. I applied for $10,000 of funding. That was 8 days ago, and I have not heard anything back. And you're supposed to, I think, hear back after like 3 days. So I actually have no idea whether it's because I wasn't successful or whether they are backlogged or what. I have no idea. But they said they'd email me, so I'm waiting around. The link in the what I'm sharing on my screen with. Oh, I guess I don't have to be sharing my screen anymore. There's a link there that goes right to the application, and it's literally like you go through the application online. So, yeah, go do that. Tom E. I'm a wedding photographer. Sole proprietorship, operated from my home, have been in business for 40 years. Business is completely closed due to restrictions. Am I eligible for SBA loan? Closed due to restrictions. I'd probably want to like know exactly. First of all, that totally sucks that you're closed down due to restrictions. Man, this is a crazy time, and to have your business shut down must be one of the toughest things in the world right now. So I'm sorry that that's happening to you. I would think for sure you'd be eligible for an SBA loan. The whole point of SBA loans is to get your business, continue your business running, and to get it back up and running. So I think as long, if you had to close things down, I guess it depends on what the restrictions are. If it was a restriction like didn't have enough operating revenue, like, yeah, like totally you're going to be eligible. If it was for something else, like specifically where you weren't now applicable to get a loan, maybe that's the case. I'm not sure how bad the situation is, Tom. If you've like had to file for bankruptcy or something like that, you may not be eligible because like once you've like crossed that threshold, now like loans become a whole new thing. I may be overcomplicating it. I'm just trying to like cover all the bases here. I would think you'd be eligible unless there's something very specific about your business closing down that makes you ineligible. But I don't know what that would be besides like something around bankruptcy or like something like that. So Rick J. All right. My company company is structured as a California SCorp. I'm the sole full-time employee. Nice. You meant to say full-time. Other than freelancers that he pays weekly paycheck to. I managed to pay myself over the last few weeks, but this has stretched me to the limit and not sure I can continue to pay going forward. What is the specific criteria for eligibility for one of these loans, and is the loan forgivable, or will I need to pay it back? So definitely click through the link to the document I was sharing. It talks about the ways that the reasons you'll have to pay back and what you need to do to make sure it's 100% forgivable, meaning it becomes a grant, meaning it's not required, you're not required to pay it back. Yeah, first of all, man, what a crazy time, and to have your business kind of feeling like it's on its last gasps financially is super tough. So like, first of all, Rick, man, that really sucks. And I hope that you're able to get through this. What is the specific criteria for eligibility for one of these loans? That's actually a kind of a good question, like specific criteria for eligibility. I don't know if there is one. Do you know if there's specific criteria for eligibility? Is there a specific criteria for eligibility for these loans? Like, is there anything you have, like anything that's like X, Y, and Z to be eligible for these loans? Yeah, we know she doesn't exactly know either. There are a few. Okay, first SBA.gov website, because there are, I just can't remember them right now. Like one of them is like you have to have less than 500 employees. That's a big one. If anyone here has over 500 employees, cool. I'd like to talk to you because I want to know like how you run a business that's big. That's crazy. But you have to have under 500 employees to apply for this. So like Automatic can't apply for this because they have 1,000 employees. Although they may have under 500 US employees. So maybe they can. So that's eligibility, but it's on the SBA.gov website. Go there for sure. And loan forgivable. Yeah, they are. Just make sure that you use your loan. If you're successful getting a loan, let's focus on that first. Let's get the loan. Use it to fuel your operating costs. Don't go buy, a Tesla, because who knows? Next year, government may come back and want some proof of where you spent the money. I don't know that that's the case at all. I'm just throwing that out there as like, don't F with the government. U.S. government's not a good entity to mess with. All right. Evelyn, another question. Evelyn, question machine. Should we apply via that link or via our bank's link? Depends on the loan. The IDL loan, you want to apply via the link. You don't need a bank to apply for that. The PPP loan, the Paycheck Protection Program, you want to apply via your bank's link. Bank's link. I showed my Capital One page. If you're a Capital One customer, let me throw it in a chat here. Every bank will have a page like this. Pratesh, hopefully everyone can see that chat. I don't know if I'm like chatting to only one specific person or everybody. I assume everyone can see that. If not, let me know.
Everyone can see it.
Okay, everyone. Alec, thank you, Alec, for clarifying. Every bank will have a page like that on their website. So find the page that talks about applying for the PPP program, Paycheck Protection Program, and apply if it's open. If it's not open, call your bank and complain about it. That probably won't help, but you should probably do it anyway. All right, last question I see here, unless someone's got a last minute question they're going to put into the Q&A section. I have a Washington State SCorp. People have talked about what kind of business entity they are as well. Like some people have an LLC, some are SCorps. There's no like pre-qualifying, like if you're an SCorp, you can't apply, or if you're an LLC, you can't apply. I don't believe. So I just want to make sure I clarify that everybody who said like their business, the kind of business that they've registered, should still be eligible for all this stuff. As well as location. No matter what of the 50 states you're registered in, you can apply. I got a question earlier about U.S. territories and I wasn't 100% sure, so go double check that. but I would think they would be able to. Anyway, Washington State SCorp. Jonathan K has one. I do owner draws for about half my paycheck. Will this still be covered under the PPP? I believe this is the same question as Evelyn was asking before about guaranteed payments. Evelyn, if I was not right about that, I don't know all the lingo, but I'm pretty sure that was what you were talking about. If you draw your money straight from your business bank account to your personal bank account, I did this up until about 6 months ago. With WP Buffs is how I paid myself. I pulled money because my personal banking and business banking is in Capital One. I could literally just like transfer money from my business bank account in my personal bank account. There's nothing wrong with that. A lot of business owners pay themselves that way. Important to remember, if you pay yourself $50,000 in a year using this method, just transferring money, you obviously will owe taxes on that. So if you I just put 20 to 30% on top of that. Whatever you pay yourself $50,000, you're going to owe $15,000 in taxes because you pulled that money out without paying taxes on it. So I always like to make sure I clarify that. Jonathan, if you do this, I answered this question kind of before. I would think that would for sure be eligible as payroll, but I do not know. I'm not going to go 100% on that one. That's something that's a great question for Elliot, who is my accountant. He would for sure know the answer to that. If the link to the document I was sharing, it's Pratesh posted it. Just scroll up in the chat. Ask him if you don't have an accountant. If you have an accountant, go ask your accountant. Those are for sure the people to talk to for these specific questions. Also, I already know I've already said it, but SBA.gov website is a great resource. And yeah.
All right, William has some interesting information. He's put that in chat. Maybe you want to share with everyone.
Yeah, I do want to. William. All right, William. SBA information is still not clear. Yeah, that makes sense. To be forgivable, you must pay 75% of the borrowed money in payroll and the rest for specific expenses like rent and utilities. To get forgiveness, you have to apply later for forgiveness and prove with documentation that you actually spent 75% of that on payroll and the rest on qualified expenses. S-Corps are fine. That is what ours is. William, thank you so much for posting this. This is super helpful. I for sure say if you're applying for a loan to pay for operational costs and payroll, document it to make sure that you have it, throw it in your Google Drive folder, forget about it, whatever, but make sure you know where it is when someone comes asking for it. Maybe they won't come asking for it, but hey, they gave you a loan, so they have the right to come ask for it. So I would for sure save that. William, I have not seen that you must pay 75% for payroll and the rest on specific expenses like rent and utilities. By the way, I believe when we say rent and utilities, if you're a remote company like ours, you can use it on operational costs, which includes like software. So like if you have a bunch of software used for your business, like that counts in the rent and utilities section. William, I haven't seen anything that says you must, like those are the percentages you have to like fund with your loan. If you have a link or something from the SBA.gov website that says that, I'm not trying to like question you or anything. I just want to I want to know the source of the information so that I can say, oh yeah, SBA said this or whatever place said this so we can assess it. The draws are not included. William says draws are not included. So the Evelyn and Rick, no? Who asked the second question? Sorry, I was trying to find a name. Whoever asked the question about direct payments from your bank account into your personal account as a business owner, Rick says those are not included. So I don't know. Or excuse me, William says this. I don't know William, but he seems to know what he's talking about. Go do your research and make sure you ask your accountant this. But I know a draw from a bank account into a personal account is technically not payroll. So that may be the reason. That's it's a different way to pay yourself. It's not a payroll expense technically. It's like a business withdrawal as a business owner. Salary amounts over $100,000 a year are not allowed. Interesting. I did not know that. So William's saying, William, thank for all this great information. You should be giving this webinar. Salary amounts. If you're over, if your salary is over $100,000 a year, I guess that's not applicable for a loan. Up salary amounts. That's what I said. He said, "Is that what I said?" William says salary amounts over $100,000 a year are not allowed. Right? Yeah.
Which means you can count the first 100.
Yes, that's what I said. They get what I'm saying. Okay. If you make $99,999, no, wait. If you make $90,000 a year, you can apply under the payroll.
Apply for 100 of it.
Oh, really?
Yes.
That's not what he said. Okay, that's interesting. From what my wife, beautiful wife, amazing, smart wife, just told me, if you make $110,000 a year, you can apply up to $100,000 of that, but not more. So, William, when you said salary amount over $100,000 a year are not allowed, technically not wrong, but if you make up to that, you can. Okay, William said I'm right. Thanks, William. Nice job. Teamwork makes the dream work. You can apply up to $100,000 for that. So, cool. We're at 3:00 right now, so if people got to run, totally get it. But I want to answer William's last thing. William said they will ask, as you have to prove it. Yes, on the 75%. You are wrong on the op costs. Op costs. This is the SBA doc. Cool. So that link there, definitely people click that link. I'm going to click. I'm not going to do it like right here live and look at it, but I'm going to go through this for sure afterwards because I want to know exactly what the loan, like what I need to apply the loan for. So if 75% goes to payroll for the Paycheck Protection Program, the other 25% is going to go to, I guess, more purely operational costs. So that can, again, include any kind of software. You can argue a lot of things are operational costs. So if something's helping you to run your business, that's an operational cost. Evelyn says she doesn't see the link. It's just above. It's like 3 chats above. William sent it out. I assume everyone can see it because William chatted it and I can see it. It's the treasury.gov. Sounds like a legit source. So Evelyn says she doesn't see that one. We can't see William's chats. Oh, people can't see William's chats? It says public at the top. Okay, I'm going to copy this and paste it. Copy link address. Paste. This is William. William gets credit for that. I didn't find the link. Thanks, William. Do people see that now? Hopefully.
Yeah, I think it should be.
Oh, people can only see our chats, Pritesh. Oh, okay. Cool. Good to know. I haven't used Big Marker yet, which is this platform, so I don't know what people can see yet. Cool. Okay, people got it. Sweet. Any other questions? I don't see any.
Yeah, all right. I think the primary lesson is things are again early, but one main takeaway is that you guys should not wait and just go ahead and apply. Right? Start discovering. Don't wait for things. Apply as soon as possible. And everyone is trying to figure out as we go along. Right? It'll be great if anyone of you who's applying is successful. Please do share that story with us. We would love to share it how you've done it.
I would love that. Please comment. Shout out to Indie Hackers. If you're like a startup, you should have an Indie Hackers account and go check it out. But if you want to comment on my document I sent out, Pritesh sent out the link earlier, I would love to know if people are successful because I've only heard a handful of success stories. I would guess like to finish by saying for sure apply sooner rather than later. Exactly what Pritesh said about the forgivable stuff, like what's forgivable and what's not. Is if you have payroll and operational costs for your business, like you will most likely apply the forgivableness of the loan will be applicable. So as long as that's the case, I think people are pretty safe applying sooner rather than later. I'm going to apply as soon as Capital One's opens their doors. So thank you everybody for joining. And I hope everybody stays safe, healthy, and man, crazy time, but keep on keeping on.
Yep. Thanks, Joe. Thanks everyone for joining in. I hope everyone got some value out of it. And yeah, keep praying, stay safe, stay healthy, stay indoors.
Yes. Thank you to my wife who co-presented this with me while she's sitting on her computer doing her own job and also helping me with my job. So thanks.
All right. Take care, guys. Cheers.
Bye, everyone.
Talk to you guys soon. Bye.
Good luck.